Tonight, you will step into the 1,000-year-old corridor of Zen wisdom, a place where an ancient truth resides. What we desire most often comes when we stop chasing. Since the Buddha attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, Zen masters have understood this. Deliberate striving is like a clenched fist, unable to hold the wind it seeks. Over the next 3 hours, 10 stories will spread like moonlight over a lake, revealing the attachment behind insomnia and the peace beneath anxiety. They won't teach you how to try to sleep, only how to make peace with being awake. Adjust your pillow. Let your shoulders sink into the mattress. Let your feet relax naturally. No need to do anything special right now. You are enough. Now, close your eyes with me and take one deep breath. Inhale, feeling the coolness brush your nostrils. Exhale, letting the furrows between your brows soften with the breath. The mountain air grows crisp as evening settles over the temple. You can almost smell the faint tanks of pine mixing with something earthier, like damp soil after rain. Somewhere in the distance, a stream murmurs, its voice softening as night stretches its dark wings over the valley. Inside the small meditation hall, a single lantern casts warm light against wooden beams, where shadows shift like breathing things. A young monk named Hiroshi kneels by the hearth, his brow furrowed. The fire that once crackled brightly now smolders, reduced to a few glowing embers. He leans forward, puffs out his cheeks, and blows hard. The embers flicker, then dim. He blows again, faster, more forcefully, his shoulders tensing with effort. Ash swirls up, stinging his eyes, but the flames refuse to rise. "Come on," he mutters, frustration edging his voice. He grabs a bellows, pumping it wildly. The embers glow brighter for a moment, then sink back, as if exhausted by his urgency. Behind him, Master Ihai sits on a woven mat, his posture as steady as the ancient oak outside. His eyes are half closed, but he sees everything: the way Hiroshi's hands tremble with impatience, the way his breath comes in short, sharp gasps, the way his focus narrows to a tight knot of must fix, must make it work. After a while, the master speaks, his voice, like stones, smoothed by that mountain stream, calm, unhurried. "Hiroshi," he says, "when you were a child, did you ever try to catch a butterfly?" Hiroshi pauses, the bellows slack in his hands. "Yes, master, once. In the garden, I chased one for hours, but every time I reached for it, it fluttered away." "And when did you finally hold it?" The young monk's shoulders relax a little as memory softens his features. "I stopped chasing. I sat down on a stone, and it landed on my knee. It stayed there for so long I could feel its tiny legs." Ihei nods. "Fire is like that butterfly, Hiroshi. It lives in the space between effort and ease. You blow too hard, you scatter its life. You rush, you starve it of air. Watch." The master rises slowly, his movements deliberate as a sunrise. He doesn't reach for the bellows. Instead, he picks up a single twig, thin as a finger, and rests it gently across the embers. Then he sits back, his hands resting on his knees, and closes his eyes. For a long while, nothing happens. Hiroshi holds his breath, half expecting the master to do something, anything. But Ihai simply waits, as if the fire were a story he's willing to let unfold at its own pace. Minutes pass. The lantern flickers. Outside, an owl hoots, its call echoing through the quiet. Then, almost imperceptibly, the twig begins to smoke. A tiny flame curls around its edge, tentative at first, then bolder, until the whole stick is burning. Hiroshi stares, amazed. "But you didn't do anything," he whispers. "I did less," Ihei corrects, opening his eyes. "Your effort was like a wall. You built it so high, the fire couldn't breathe. Sometimes, the most powerful act is to step back and let what is already alive find its own way. You can feel this in your own body, can't you? That tightness in your chest when you lie awake, thinking, I must sleep now. The way your mind races, counting hours left until morning, calculating how tired you'll be tomorrow, as if worry were a tool that could carve sleep out of wakefulness. It's the same energy Hiroshi poured into his bellow sergeant, grasping, convinced that more effort will fix what feels broken. But what if, like that fire, your body already knows how to rest? What if the very act of trying to sleep is smothering the embers of drowsiness that are already there? Let's breathe with that for a moment. Take a deep breath in through your nose slowly, as if you're sipping cool water on a hot day. Hold it for just a second, then exhale through your mouth, letting the air roll out like a sigh. As you breathe out, notice the weight of your body against the mattress, not checking if it's relaxed enough, just noticing the back of your head pressing into the pillow, the curve of your lower back, the soles of your feet may be warm now where they touch the sheets. This is the less I spoke of not doing, just being. Neuroscientists have a name for what happens when we try too hard to sleep. They call it hyperarousal state, where the body's stress response kicks in, even though we're lying in bed, supposedly safe. Your brain, confused by the conflict between I need to relax and I'm failing to relax, activates that sympathetic nervous system, the same one that revs up when you're in danger. Your heart rate creeps up, your muscles tense. Your mind, sensing a problem that needs solving, shifts into overdrive, rehashing conversations, replaying worries, as if any of these thoughts hold the key to unlocking sleep. It's a feedback loop. The more you struggle, the more awake you become. The more awake you become, the harder you struggle. Hiroshi's bellows worked against him because fire needs oxygen, but not in a hurricane. Your nervous system is the same. It needs space to settle, not a storm of shoulds. I should be asleep by now. I shouldn't be thinking. I should be able to control this. These thoughts are like Hiroshikashurid breaths, scattering the calm you're trying to cultivate. Master Aihai knew something else too, that the embers were never really dead. They were just waiting. Underneath Hiroshi's frustration, under the ash, heat still lived. It only needed a little space, a gentle touch, to reawaken. So it is with your body's natural rhythm. Even when you lie awake for hours, even when you feel utterly unable to sleep, the capacity for rest is still there, like those embers, warm, patient, waiting for your effort to soften. Think of a time when you fell asleep without trying. Maybe on a lazy afternoon, sunlight streaming through the window, a book resting on your chest. Maybe on a long drive, the hum of the engine lulling you. In those moments, you weren't doing sleep, you were just being. And sleep came like a friend slipping through an open door. That's the paradox at the heart of tonight's lesson. Sleep is not a goal to achieve, but a state to return to. It's the default, not the exception. Your body knows the way. It's your mind that gets lost in the woods of trying. Let's return to that breath. Inhale and imagine you're drawing in the cool mountain air of Aihei's temple. Exhale and let go of one should that's been niggling at you. Maybe I should be asleep. Maybe I should stop thinking. Just let it drift away on the breath, like a leaf carried downstream. Inhale again, feeling the expansion in your ribs, the rise of your belly. Exhale and notice how your shoulders drop a little, as if someone lifted a small weight from them. Hiroshi learned to tend fires by sitting with them, not fighting them. He learned to notice the color of the embers. Pale orange means they need space. Deep red means they're ready for a new log. He learned to breathe with the fire, matching his inhales to its slow glow, his exhales to the steady crackle. You can learn to do the same with your own wakefulness. Instead of fighting the fact that you're awake, meet it with curiosity. What does it feel like, exactly? Not bad or annoying, just sensations. A tightness in your throat, a restlessness in your legs, thoughts looping like a song on repeat. These are just embers. They don't have to become a wildfire unless you pour gasoline on them with frustration. Modern psychology calls this acceptance and commitment. Therapy, the practice of acknowledging what is, without judgment, and choosing to act in alignment with what matters. In this case, what matters isn't being asleep at a certain time, it's allowing your body to rest, even if your eyes are open, because rest and sleep, while related, aren't the same thing. You can rest while awake. Your heart can slow, your muscles can soften, your mind can quiet even if sleep hasn't arrived yet. And often, when rest is allowed, sleep follows. I would say it's like tending a garden. You can't make a flower bloom by pulling on its petals. You can only water it, give it sunlight, and trust in its nature. Your body's need for sleep is that flower. It has its own timing, its own wisdom. Your job isn't to force it open. It's to stop doing the things that keep it closed, like the endless loop of why can't I sleep? The temple fire burned all night, long after Hiroshi and Ihai had retired to their mats. Not because anyone forced it, but because it was tended with care, with attention, not urgency. Sometimes it flared, sometimes it dimmed, but it never went out. So it is with your own life force. It doesn't need your constant control to keep going. It just needs you to trust that, even in the quietest, darkest moments, there is warmth beneath the surface. As the first chapter of our journey draws to a close, let's carry this image with us. The embers, steady and patient, waiting not for force, but for ease. You are not a problem to solve tonight. You are not a task to complete. You are a living thing, like that fire, like the butterfly, like the flowers in the garden, worthy of rest, simply because you exist. Take one more deep breath now, deeper than the last. Inhale, filling your lungs until you can feel your collarbones rise. Exhale, letting go of anything that doesn't serve you right now. And as you settle into the space between breaths, remember, the night is long, and there is time. Time for rest, time for waiting, time for whatever comes next. The moon hangs low over the temple pond, its reflection so clear it seems you could reach out and touch the silver disc resting on the water's surface. The air smells of lotus sweet, earthy, slightly damp, like the memory of rain. Frogs sing in chorus from the reeds, their rhythm steady as a heartbeat. Somewhere, a bamboo wind chime tinkles, its sound dissolving into the night like a sigh. Taro, a novice with wide eyes and a mind that races faster than the mountain streams, kneels at the pond's edge. His fingers hover over the water, trembling with purpose. Just a little closer, he mutters, leaning forward until his shadow ripples across the moon's reflection. He plunges his hand into the pond, cupping the water, but the moon shatters into 1,000 shimmering fragments. No, he groans, pulling his hand out. Droplets fall from his sleeve, and the reflection reforms, perfect as before, just out of reach. He tries again, faster this time, sweeping his arm through the water. The moon scatters, then returns. He slaps the surface, sending waves crashing against the stones. But when the water stills, there it is, whole, unbroken, mocking his effort. Why won't it stay? He shouts, frustration cracking his voice. I can see it. Why can't I hold it? Master Koji stands behind him, his sandals silent on the mossy stones. He has been watching for some time, his gaze soft as the moonlight. What are you chasing, Taro? He asks, his voice blending with the frog songs. The novice turns, his wet hand clutching his robe. The moon, master. It's so clear, so brighty, want to keep it. But every time I try to grab it, it disappears. Koji smiles, a slow, gentle thing. And when you stop grabbing, Taro blinks. It comes back. Does it ever really leave? The master asks. He gestures to the pond. The moon is in the sky, Taro. Its reflection is just a shadow, a whisper of light on water. You cannot hurt the moon by scattering its reflection. You cannot hold the shadow by crushing the water. He pauses, then adds, your mind is like this pond. When you reach for your thoughts, grab at them, fight them, demand they stay or go, you only create waves. But the thoughts, like the moon's reflection, are just shadows. They come, they go, but they are not the water itself. You can feel this in your own chest, can't you? That tightness when a worry surfaces. Did I lock the door? What if I fail tomorrow? And you grab at it, turning it over, examining every edge, as if dissecting it will make it disappear. But the more you focus, the louder it grows, until it fills your mind like a storm. It's Taro's hand in the pond. The very act of trying to control the thought scatters your peace. Yet the thought itself was never as solid as it seemed. Neuroscientists call the part of your brain that generates these endless thoughts the default mode network. It's the system that activates when your mind is at rest, when you're not focused on a task, and it's responsible for self-reflection, memory, and imagination. Think of it as a stream that flows even when you're not actively steering it. Normally, this stream is calm, meandering through memories and plans. But when you're stressed or anxious, it turns into a river, rushing faster, carrying debris, worries, regrets, what-ifs that crash against the banks of your attention. This is what happens when you lie awake at 3 a.m., replaying a conversation from yesterday or rehearsing one that hasn't happened yet. Your default mode network is overactive, looping through thoughts without pause. And each time you grab at a thought, why am I thinking this? I need to stop. You're adding energy to the current. You become both the swimmer and the storm, fighting against a force you can't control because you don't realize the storm is of your own making. Master Koji understood this centuries before science named it. He knew that thoughts are not enemies to defeat, but shadows to observe. The moon's reflection isn't destroyed when the water stills, it's revealed as what it always was, a temporary, beautiful illusion. So too with your thoughts. When you stop grabbing at them, they lose their power to disturb you, not because they vanish, but because you see them clearly, ephemeral, separate from you. Think of a time when a thought consumed you, a fear, a regret, a plan, and then, hours later, it seemed smaller. Maybe you fell into a conversation or lost yourself in a task, and when you remembered the thought, it had shrunk, like a shadow at noon. That's not magic. It's the natural rhythm of the mind. Thoughts rise, peak, and fall, just like waves. Your job isn't to stop the waves, but to stop diving into them. Taro learned to sit by the pond each evening, not to grab the moon, but to watch it. He noticed how the reflection trembled with the wind, how it stretched and shrank with the tides, how it vanished entirely on cloudy nights. Yet the moon itself never changed. The water is always still, he told Koji weeks later. The waves are just visiting. And in that understanding, he found a kind of peace. Not the absence of thoughts, but the presence of awareness that they were just waves. Let's practice that awareness now. It's called Thoughts as Leaves, and it's simple but powerful. Here's how it works. Close your eyes if you haven't already, and imagine a stream flowing through a forest. The water is clear, moving gently over smooth stones. Now, notice your thoughts as they arise, not judging them, not chasing them, just noticing. Each thought is a leaf floating on the stream. A worry about tomorrow is a yellow oak leaf. A memory is a red maple. A random image is a bright green fern. Watch the leaves float by. Some may stick for a moment, caught on a stone, but eventually the current carries them away. You don't need to push them, or pull them, or jump in after them. You are just the banks of the stream, steady and calm, watching the water flow. Do this for the next minute, letting each thought be a leaf, letting the stream carry them all away. Notice how that feels. Not empty, necessarily. Leaves will keep falling, after all, but lighter, perhaps, because you're not carrying the leaves anymore. You're just watching them pass. This is the difference between being in the mind and being aware of the mind. One exhausts you, the other frees you. The default mode network is most active when you're not focused on the present moment. That's why lying in the dark, with no external distractions, can feel like being trapped in a thought tornado. Your brain, starved for input, starts spinning its own stories. But when you anchor yourself in the present through your breath, through the sensation of your body against the mattress, through the sound of your own heartbeat, you're hitting a reset button. You're saying to your brain, not now, now, I am here. Master Koji taught Taro a second lesson by that pond. The moon does not care if you see its reflection, he said. It shines because that is what moons do. Your mind does not care if you grasp its thoughts. It thinks because that is what minds do. Peace is not making the mind stop thinking. Peace is knowing you are not your thoughts. You are not the leaf. You are not the stream. You are the sky above the stream, vast and open. Watching the leaves float by without being touched by them. The frogs have quieted now, their songs fading into the night. The moon has climbed higher, its reflection stretching longer across the water, but Taro no longer kneels at the edge. He sits on a stone, his back straight, his gaze soft, watching the waves come and go, watching the reflection form and reform, knowing that both are perfect, just as they are. This is the gift of this chapter. The understanding that your restlessness is not a failure. It's just the mind being the mind, the water being the water, the waves being waves. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to fight it. You just need to remember to sit back and watch with curiosity, with kindness, with the quiet certainty that the moon is always in the sky, even when the water is rough. As we move toward the next part of our journey, carry this image with you. The pond.com beneath the moon, waves rising and falling without disturbing the deep, still water below. That deep, still water is you, always present, always peaceful, waiting not for the waves to stop, but for you to remember that you are more than the waves. Take one final breath here, as deep as the pond itself. Inhale, filling your lungs until you can feel the expansion in your lower back. Exhale, releasing any last traces of tension. Letting your body grow heavier against the mattress, your mind lighter, like a leaf finally set free to float downstream. And in the silence between this breath and the next, know this: you are exactly where you need to be, and that is more than enough. Dawn spills over the temple roof, turning the wooden beams golden as honey. The air smells of fresh-cut bamboo and damp earth, with a hint of jasmine from the garden. A rooster crows in the distance, its call fading into the soft rustle of monks sweeping the stone courtyard. Near the well, a stream gurgles over smooth pebbles, carrying the first light of day like scattered diamonds. Kenji, a young monk with a furrowed brow and hands that fidget when he's frustrated, stands beside a half-filled stone basin. In his hands is a bamboo basket woven roughly, its slats gapped and uneven. He dips it into the stream, submerging it until water overflows the edges, then lifts it, straining against the weight. But as he carries it toward the basin, water pours through the gaps, leaving only a few droplets by the time he arrives. Again, he mutters, gritting his teeth. He repeats the process, faster now, plunging the basket deeper, running with it to the basin, but the result is the same, a trickle that vanishes before it can collect. "This is useless," he shouts, throwing the basket to the ground. It lands with a clatter, its broken slats staring up at him like mocking eyes. It's broken. How am I supposed to fill the basin with something that can't hold water? Master Ren, his grey robes fluttering in the morning breeze, bends to pick up the basket. He runs his fingers over the woven bamboo, his touch gentle as sunlight. "When I gave you this basket, Kenji, did I tell you to fill the basin?" The young monk blinks, chest heaving. "No, but did I say the basket was meant to hold water?" Kenji opens his mouth, then closes it. "No, master, but why else would you give me a basket by the stream?" Ren smiles, sitting on a flat stone and patting the spot beside him. Kenji hesitates, then sits, his shoulders still tight with resentment. The master holds up the basket, turning it so the morning light filters through the gaps. "Look closely. What do you see?" "Hollis," Kenji mutters. "Imperfections. It's worthless. Worthless." Ren tilts his head. "Watch." He dips the basket into the stream again, then lifts it slowly. Water streams through the gaps, but as it falls, it catches the sunlight, creating a rainbow that arcs between the basket and the stream. "What do you see now?" Kenji stares. "A rainbow. Does the basket need to hold water to create that?" Ren asks, lowering the basket. "Is its purpose only to carry what it cannot keep?" He sets the basket down and gestures to the basin. "The basin will fill in time with rain, with the stream's overflow, with the dew that falls at night. But this basket, it teaches something else. It teaches you to carry without clinging, to work without attachment to the outcome." He pauses, plucking a blade of grass and twirling it between his fingers. "You think your frustration comes from the basket's failure, but it comes from your own. You decided the basket should hold water, then blamed it when it did what it was made to do. What if you stopped fighting the gaps? What if you let the water flow through and noticed the rainbow instead?" You know this feeling, don't you? That sense of futility when you lie in bed, watching the clock, thinking, "I should be asleep by now." It's Kenji's rage at the bamboo basket hanger, at a situation that refuses to bend to your will. You try to fix your wakefulness, counting sheep, reciting mantras, forcing your breath into a rhythm that feels foreign. But like water through bamboo, sleep slips through your grasp, and each failed attempt leaves you more frustrated, more awake, more convinced that something is wrong with you. Psychologists call this experiential avoidance, the human tendency to resist unpleasant thoughts, feelings, or sensations. When you lie awake, your brain perceives not sleeping as a threat, triggering the same fight or flight response that would activate if you were in physical danger. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your mind races to solve the problem, and in doing so, you create a cycle. The more you avoid the feeling of being awake, the more prominent it becomes. It's Kenji's basket. The harder he tries to hold the water, the more it escapes. Neuroscience explains why this happens. When you focus on not thinking or must sleep, you activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for goal setting and problem solving. But sleep is governed by the brainstem, a more primitive region that operates outside conscious control. It's like trying to start a car by pushing the radio buttons. you're engaging the wrong system entirely. The more you try to sleep, the more you disrupt the very processes that would naturally lull you into rest. Master Ren understood this truth. Long before science mapped the brain, he knew that struggle creates its own kind of tension, a mental grip that tightens the longer you hold it. The basket is perfect, he told Kenji later, as they sat watching the stream. It does not resist its own nature. It does not curse the gaps that make it what it is. It simply is, and in that being, it creates beauty you would never see in a perfect clay pot. Think of your wakefulness as that bamboo basket. It may not do what you want it to do, but it is not broken. It is simply being what it is in this moment. The question is not, how do I fix it, but what can I learn from it while it is here? Let's practice this together. It's called the basket and the stream, and it invites you to observe your wakefulness without trying to change it. Here's how. Close your eyes and imagine holding Kenji's bamboo basket in your hands. Feel the rough bamboo against your palms, the gaps between the slats, the weight of it light but solid. Now, imagine dipping it into a stream. Notice the coolness of the water, the way it rushes through the gaps, the sound it makes as it falls back to the current dot. As you hold the basket, notice your thoughts about being awake. Maybe I need to sleep, or this is terrible, or why me? These thoughts are like the water, they flow through you, but they do not define you. You do not need to catch them, or stop them, or carry them. You can let them pass, like water through bamboo. For the next minute, just be with the sensation of holding the basket, of watching the water flow through, of letting your thoughts come and go without clinging to them. Notice how that feels. Not necessarily restful, but perhaps less urgent, because you're no longer fighting the fact that you're awake, you're just letting it be. Like Kenji eventually did with the basket, he stopped trying to fill the basin and started noticing the way sunlight danced in the falling water, the sound of the stream as it sang through the bamboo, the way his hands learned the rhythm of dipping and releasing without expectation. And in that noticing, something shifted. Frustration softened into curiosity, and the task that felt like punishment became a kind of meditation. Neuroscientists have found that this kind of non-judgmental observation activates the default mode network in a healthier way, quieting its overactivity instead of fueling it. When you stop labeling your wakefulness as bad or wrong, your amygdala brain's threat detector calms down, allowing your nervous system to shift from fight or flight to rest and digest. It's not that the thoughts disappear, it's that they lose their power to scare you, like shadows that no longer make you jump once you turn on the light. Master Ren taught Kenji to use the basket every morning, not to fill the basin, but to practice presence. Each time water slips through, he said, it is a reminder. Life flows. You cannot hold it, but you can ride it. And slowly, Kenji learned to smile as the water poured out, to greet each empty trip to the basin with a bow, to see in the basket's imperfection a kind of wisdom, that some things are meant to carry, not to keep. This is the lesson for tonight. Your wakefulness is not a failure, it is a stream, and you are the basket. You do not need to hold onto the water to be worthy of the task. You just need to keep dipping, keep releasing, keep trusting that the flow itself has purpose even if you cannot see it yet. The sun has climbed higher now, warming the stones beneath Kenji and Ren. The basin, as Ren predicted, has filled a little from last night's rain, from the stream's overflow, from sources Kenji never noticed while he was busy with his basket. See, Ren says, nodding at the water. It came when you stopped forcing it. Kenji picks up the bamboo basket, running his fingers over the gaps as if they were old friends. I was wrong about it, he says quietly. It's not useless, it's teaching me. Ren smiles. Everything is a teacher, if you let it be. As we move forward, carry this image with you. The bamboo basket held gently, its gaps not flaws but windows for light. Your wakefulness is not an enemy tonight. It is a teacher, here to show you how to let go, how to ride the flow, how to find beauty in the things that do not last. Take one final breath, deeper than the last, letting it fill every corner of your lungs. Inhale, and imagine the morning sun on your face, warm and kind. Exhale, and let your body sink deeper into the mattress, as if you're floating on the stream, carried by currents you cannot see but can trust. And in the quiet between this breath and the next, remember, you do not need to hold on to anything to be enough. You are already more than enough, just as you are. The winter wind cuts through the temple garden, sharp as a blade, carrying the scent of frost and pine. The ground is hard, crusted with ice that glints like shattered glass in the pale sunlight. Bare branches claw at the grey sky, their silhouettes stark and skeletal. In the corner of the garden, a small greenhouse hums with warmth, its glass panels fogged with condensation, an island of artificial spring in the midst of winter. YASU. A farmer with calloused hands and a impatience that burns hotter than the greenhouse heater kneels beside a row of wilting cherry saplings. He presses his palm against the soil, frowning at its coolness. More heat, he mutters, turning up the thermostat. The heater clicks, and warm air rushes through the vents, drying the air until it crackles with static. He sprinkles fertilizer over the roots, his movements urgent, as if force could make the buds swell faster. You should be blooming, he tells the saplings, his voice tight. I built this greenhouse for you. I gave you light and warmth. Why won't you flower? The buds remain closed, their tips brown and brittle. Some have fallen off, littering the soil like tiny, failed promises. Yasu slams his fist against the wooden workbench, sending a trowel clattering to the floor. It's not fair, he shouts. I did everything right, everything. Master Hannah, her robes dusted with snow, stands in the greenhouse doorway. She watches Yasu for a long while, her breath visible in the cold air that drifts in from outside. When I was a girl, she says finally, my grandmother taught me to plant rice. Yasu doesn't look up, but his shoulders relax slightly at the sound of her voice, the calm, unhurried tone that could soothe even his fiercest storms. She would wait until the rains came in spring, no matter how eager I was to start. Rice knows when to grow, she'd say. You can't trick it into thinking winter is spring. Yasu scoffs, but there's less anger in it now. These are cherry trees, not rice. They need warmth to bloom. I'm helping them. Are you? Hannah steps inside, her sandals leaving damp prints on the concrete floor. She touches a frostbitten bud gently, as if it were a wounded bird. Cherry trees need winter, Yasu. They need the cold to split their buds, to tell them when it's safe to bloom. You took that away. You gave them heat, but heat without cold is just confusion. She gestures to the saplings. They don't know if it's spring or summer or some false season you made up, so they wait. And in waiting, they wither because even plants know that life without rhythm is not life at all. She walks to the greenhouse window, wiping a circle in the fog to look out at the garden. The oak tree outside has stood here for 100 winters. It doesn't complain about the cold. It doesn't demand sunlight. It rests. It lets the frost harden its bark, lets the snow insulate its roots. And when spring comes, it leaves out not because someone forced it, but because it honored the waiting. You know this rhythm, don't you? The way your body craves rest at night, even when your mind insists on staying busy. The way your eyes grow heavy at 10 p.m., only to snap wide open when you should be asleep at midnight. It's Yasu's greenhouse, the artificial pressure to perform sleep now. Be productive. Ignore what your body is telling you that disrupts the natural rhythm of rest. Your body, like the cherry tree, knows when to sleep. It knows when to wake, but you've been trying to trick it, to force it into a schedule that doesn't honor its own wisdom. Neuroscientists call this rhythm the circadian clock, a network of genes and proteins that regulates everything from your sleep-wake cycle to your body temperature, your hunger, even your mood. It's calibrated to the rising and setting of the sun, to the slow, steady pulse of day and night. When you stay up late scrolling through your phone, or drink coffee at 8 p.m., or lie awake stressing about tomorrow, you're throwing off that clock like Yasu, turning up the heater in his greenhouse. Your body gets confused. Is it day? Is it night? Should I rest or stay alert? And in that confusion, it defaults to vigilance, because evolution taught it that uncertainty equals danger. This is why trying to sleep often backfires. Your circadian clock isn't governed by willpower. It's governed by cues: light and dark, temperature, routine. When you ignore those cues, you're not just fighting insomnia, you're fighting millions of years of biological programming. The cherry tree can't be tricked into blooming, and your body can't be tricked into sleeping, not for long anyway. Eventually, the rhythm reasserts itself, often in the form of exhaustion, irritability, or worse. Master Hannah understood this in her bones. The seasons don't apologize for their timing, she told Yasu later. As they stood outside the greenhouse, watching snowflakes land on the oak tree, winter doesn't rush to become spring. Spring doesn't cling to avoid summer, they just are. And in their being, they create balance. She turned to him, her eyes soft. Your body is a season, too. It has its winter's times of rest, of stillness, of turning inward. To deny that is to deny your own nature. Think of a time when you honored your body's rhythm without question. Maybe a lazy Sunday afternoon when you napped because you were tired, not because the clock said you should. Maybe a morning when you stayed in bed, savoring the warmth, instead of leaping up to start your to-do list. In those moments, you weren't lazy or unproductive. You were like the oak tree, trusting that rest is not waste, that waiting is not failure. Let's practice honoring that rhythm now. It's called the body's calendar, and it invites you to tune into the subtle cues your body sends about its needs. Here's how. Close your eyes and bring your attention to your eyelids. Notice their weight. Are they heavy, as if they want to close, or light, as if they're drawn to the dark? Now, shift your focus to your breath. Is it shallow and quick, as if your body is in a hurry, or deep and slow, as if it's settled in for the night? Notice your hands. Are they curled into fists, holding tension, or relaxed, palms open, as if they're ready to receive? Finally, check in with your thoughts. Are they racing, planning, worrying, trapped in future mode? Or are they slower, softer, more rooted in the present? You don't need to change anything. Just observe, like a farmer checking the sky for signs of rain. This is your body's calendar, telling you what season it's in right now. How does that feel? Not as a judgment, but as information. Your body is always communicating with you. It's just that most of the time, you're too busy talking to listen. Yasu learned this the hard way, after he shut down the greenhouse and moved the saplings outside, where they shivered in the winter cold. Something remarkable happened. A few weeks later, when the first warm rains of spring fell, the buds swelled. Not all of them, some had been damaged beyond repair, but enough to cover the branches in pale pink blooms. They needed the cold, he said to Hannah, or, in his voice, I was killing them with kindness. Hannah smiled. Kindness isn't about giving what you think is best. It's about giving what is needed, even if it's not what you want to give. This is the lesson for tonight. Your body knows what it needs. It knows when to sleep, when to wake, when to rest. Your job isn't to override that knowledge with shoulds and musts. It's to listen, to trust, to act like the oak tree instead of the greenhouse. This doesn't mean you'll fall asleep instantly, any more than the cherry tree blooms the moment winter ends. But it does mean you'll stop fighting against yourself. And that alone is enough to ease the tension that keeps you awake. Let's return to our breath. But this time, let it follow the rhythm of the seasons. Inhale for 4 counts, imagining the slow unfurling of spring buds, breaking, rivers thawing, life stirring. Hold for 2 counts, savoring the fullness, like summer at its peak, warm, abundant, alive. Exhale for 6 counts, feeling the gentle release of autumn leaves falling, days shortening, energy turning inward. Pause for 2 counts, embracing the stillness of winter, quiet, dark, waiting. Inhale, spring. Hold, exhale, autumn. Pause, winter, again. Inhale, spring. Hold, exhale, autumn. Pause, winter. Feel how this rhythm mirrors the natural world, not rushed, not forced, just ebbing and flowing, like tides, like seasons, like breath itself. The snow has stopped falling, and a weak sun breaks through the clouds, casting a pale gold light over the garden. Yasu has taken down the greenhouse, its frame now stacked in the shed, waiting for next year. The cherry saplings stand in the soil, their blooms fading but their branches strong, ready to face whatever comes next. I thought I was in control, he says to Hannah, his voice quiet, but I was just getting in the way. Hannah nods, her gaze on the oak tree. Control is an illusion, Yasu. The only wisdom is in alignment, in moving with the current, not against it. As we move forward, carry this image with you. The oak tree in winter, standing tall in the snow, not because it fights the cold, but because it trusts that spring will come. Your body is that oak tree. It has weathered storms before, and it will weather this one. You do not need to force sleep to come. You just need to let your body remember how to wait, and in that waiting, to rest. Take one final breath, deep and slow, as if you're breathing in the quiet of a winter forest. Inhale, feeling the cool air fill your lungs, crisp and clean. Exhale, letting go of any need to hurry, any need to control, any need to be anything other than what you are in this moment. And in the silence between this breath and the next, remember, the night is a season too. It is not an enemy to conquer, but a time to honor, to rest, to wait, to trust that dawn will come, as it always does. Evening light filters through the bamboo blinds of the tea house, casting striped shadows across the tatami mats. The air hums with the scent of matcha bittersweet, grassy, dill, slightly smoky, mingling with the earthy aroma of sandalwood incense. A charcoal fire crackles in the corner, its warmth gentle against the cool of the stone walls. Somewhere a temple bell rings, its tone deep and resonant, lingering in the air like a question. Dr. Takeshi, a scholar with a mind cluttered with facts and a voice that rushes like a mountain stream, sits cross-legged at the low wooden table. His fingers tap restlessly against the arm of his silk robe as he watches Master Chai prepare tea. I've studied all the sutras, he says, his words tumbling over each other. The lotus, the heart, the diamond, every translation, every commentary. I've memorized the koans, analyzed the metaphors, mapped the lineage of every master from Bodhidharma onward. But he trails off, frowning, as if the next words are stuck in his throat. Master Chai, her movements as deliberate as the turning of the seasons, measures matcha powder into a ceramic bowl. She pours hot water from a castillon kettle, its surface etched with cranes in flight, and stirs with a bamboo whisk, creating a froth that shimmers like liquid jade. "But what, Dr. Takeshi?" she asks, her voice as smooth as the tea. "But I still don't get it," he bursts out. "I know the words, but they don't change anything. I still worry, I still crave, I still lie awake at night replaying mistakes. What's wrong with me? Why can't I find the peace the sutras promise?" Master Chai sets the whisk down and reaches for a teacupper. Simple thing, unglazed, its surface rough with age. She fills it to the brim with tea until the liquid spills over the edges, dampening the table. "Here," she says, pushing the cup toward Takeshi. "Drink." He stares at the overflowing cup, then at her. "It's full. It can't hold any more tea. You're spilling it everywhere." "Ah," she says, nodding. "Now you understand." She takes the cup, empties it into a stone basin, then refills it halfway before handing it to him. "Your mind is like this cup, Takeshi. You've filled it so full of knowledge, so full of understanding, so full of the need to figure things out, that there's no room for wisdom to enter. Wisdom isn't poured into a full cup. It needs space. It needs emptiness." Takeshi sips the tea, its bitterness sharp on his tongue. "But knowledge is good, isn't it? Understanding is better than ignorance. Knowledge is a finger pointing at the moon," Master Chai says, refilling her own cup. "But if you stare at the finger, you'll never see the moon. You've been staring at the finger for so long, you've forgotten what the moon looks like." She leans forward, her eyes soft but intense. "At night, when you lie awake, is your mind not also a full cup, spilling over with regrets, with plans, with all the things you should have done or must do next? You can't find peace in that flood. Peace lives in the empty space between the thoughts. You recognize this, don't you? That feeling of lying in bed with a mind so full it hurts. Memories looping like broken records, worries multiplying like weeds, to-do lists scrolling through your consciousness as if your brain were a screen you can't turn off. It's Dr. Takeshi's overflowing teacup. Your mind so crammed with thoughts that there's no room for rest. You try to empty it with techniques and mantras, but like pouring more tea into a full cup, the effort only creates more mess. Neuroscientists call this state of mental overcrowding cognitive overload, when your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for and self-control, is bombarded with too many thoughts. It becomes less effective at regulating emotions and inhibiting rumination. This is why, when you're full of thoughts at night, even small worries feel overwhelming. Your brain's filter is overworked, and everything spills through. It's like trying to dam a river with a sieve. The more you try to contain the thoughts, the more they leak through, until you're drowning in the current. Master Chai understood that emptiness is not absence, but presence, the space that allows life to unfold. A room is not defined by its walls, she told Takeshi later, as they watched the last light fade through the bamboo blinds. It is defined by the empty space within them. A cup is not useful because of its clay, but because of the emptiness that holds the tea. Your mind is no different. It is not the thoughts that give it purpose. It is the silence between them. Think of a time when your mind felt truly empty, not in a numb way, but in a spacious way. Maybe while walking in a forest, your attention caught by the rustle of leaves or the song of a bird. Maybe while staring at a fire, your thoughts dissolving into the flames. In those moments, you weren't trying to empty your mind, you were just present. And the emptiness arrived like a guest, unannounced and welcome. That's the paradox of the empty cup. You can't force it to be empty, but you can stop filling it. Let's practice creating that space now. It's called the empty cup, and it's simpler than you might think. Close your eyes and imagine holding a cup in your hands. It's the same cup Master Chai used, rough, ceramic, slightly warm from the tea it once held, but now it's full to the brim with your thoughts. Worries about tomorrow, memories of yesterday, lists, plans, regrets, all swirling together like murky water. Notice how heavy the cup feels, how the liquid threatens to spill over the edges. Now, slowly, tilt the cup toward a stone basin like the one in the tea house. Watch as the thoughts pour out, first a trickle, then a stream, until the cup is empty. The water flows away, carrying the thoughts with it, leaving the cup light, clean, ready to be filled with something new. Now hold the empty cup in your hands. Feel its weight or lack of it. Notice the space inside, cool, quiet, waiting. This is the space between your thoughts. It has always been there. You just couldn't see it because the cup was full. Sit with that emptiness for a moment. It's not nothingness, it's potential. It's the silence that makes music possible, the darkness that makes stars visible, the pause between heartbeats that makes life feel alive. How does that feel? Not necessarily empty, but perhaps lighter. Because even if the thoughts start to creep back, and they will, like water filling a cup left in the rain, you've remembered that there's another way to be, not consumed by them, but holding them in a space that's larger than they are. Dr. Takeshi learned this lesson over time. He began to visit the tea house every evening, not to argue or question, but to sit, to watch Master Chai prepare tea, to let his mind soften into the rhythm of her movements, the measuring, the stirring, the pouring, till the space between his thoughts grew wider, like a river slowing into a lake. One night, as he lay in bed, he felt the familiar rush of worries begin to rise, but instead of grabbing at them, he imagined tilting his mental cup, pouring them out into the darkness, and in the emptiness that remained, he felt something new, a quiet, a stillness, a sense that he didn't need to figure everything out right now. It's not that the thoughts go away, he told Master Chai the next day. It's that they don't fill me up anymore. There's room for them and for peace. Master Chai smiled, refilling his cup. That is the wisdom of the empty cup. It does not fear being filled. It knows that emptying is just another kind of filling, and that both are part of the same cycle. This is the lesson for tonight. Your mind does not need to be empty to find peace. It just needs to have space to breathe, space to rest, space to be without being full. You do not need to push your thoughts away. You just need to remember that you are larger than them, that you are the cup as well as the tea, the silence as well as the sound. The charcoal fire has died down to embers, casting a soft glow over the tea house. Master Chai has cleared the cups, and the bamboo blinds are drawn, keeping the night at bay. Dr. Takeshi sits alone, his back straight, his eyes closed, his breath steady. His mind is not empty, not entirely, but it is spacious, like a room with open windows where thoughts can come and go without being trapped. I think I get it, he whispers to the darkness. Not with my head, with this. He places a hand over his heart, where the silence is loudest. As we move forward, carry this image with you. The empty cup, sitting quietly on the table, ready to receive but not needing to be filled. Your mind is that cup tonight. It is enough, just as it is, whether full or empty, busy or quiet, awake or asleep. Take one final breath, deeper than the last, as if you're filling the cup of your lungs to just the right brim. Inhale, and imagine the scent of matcha and sandalwood filling your senses, grounding you in the present. Exhale, and let go of anything that doesn't belong in this space. anything that doesn't serve the quiet, the stillness, the emptiness, that is also fullness. And in the silence between this breath and the next, remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the space that holds them, and that space is infinite. The mountain valley hums with a sound like distant thunder, but softer, an ancient vibration that seems to rise from the stones themselves. The air smells of pine, resin, and damp earth, thick with the weight of rain that fell earlier. Mist curls around the rock faces, clinging to the ferns that grow in crevices, turning the world into a watercolor painting where edges blur and colors melt into one another. A stream cuts through the valley floor, its waters singing over smooth stones. But even that sound is swallowed by the vastness of the space. Takeshi, a merchant lost on his way to the next village, stands at the edge of a cliff, his hands trembling with frustration. His pack lies forgotten on the ground, its straps frayed from the long journey. "Hello," he shouts, his voice cracking with irritation. "Is anyone there? I need directions." The valley answers back. "Hello." Directions. The echo is deeper, slower, as if the mountains themselves are speaking. Takeshi flinches. He didn't expect such a loud response. "I'm lost," he yells, louder this time. "This is ridiculous. Why can't anyone help me?" The echo booms. "Ridiculous? Help me? Me? It sounds angry now, mocking, as if the valley is laughing at his distress. Takeshi's heart races. He takes a step back, tripping over a root, and falls onto the mossy ground. "Stop it," he screams. "Leave me alone. Alone, alone, alone." The word reverberates, bouncing off the cliffs, surrounding him until it feels like the air itself is repeating it. He covers his ears, but the sound seeps through, into his head, into his bones. "Why are you doing this?" he cries, tears stinging his eyes. "What do you want from me?" Master Zen, who has been sitting on a boulder hidden by mist, stands slowly. His straw hat casts a shadow over his face, but his eyes are visible, calm, steady, like deep pools. "The valley does not want anything from you," he says, his voice carrying without effort through the still air. Takeshi looks up, startled. He hadn't heard the old monk approach. "It is just talking back." "Talking back," Takeshi sputters, wiping his face. "It's mocking me. It's repeating everything I say, but louder, angrier." Zen smiles, a small, gentle curve of his lips. "Does a mirror mock you when it shows your face? Does a well laugh when it reflects the sky? The valley is like that, neither kind nor cruel. It simply returns what you give it." He gestures to the cliffs. "Shout in anger, and it will shout anger back. Speak in fear, and it will echo fear. But try this." The master takes a deep breath, then calls out, "Peace be with you." His voice is warm, clear, without urgency. The valley pauses, then answers, "Peace be with you. You." The echo is soft, almost tender, as if the mountains are sighing the words. Takeshi stares. "It changed." "It did not change," Zen says. "You changed what you gave it." The valley has no memory, no malice, no intention. It holds nothing. It releases everything. What you perceive as anger is just your own voice, returning to you. What you feel as mockery is the sound of your own fear, amplified by the space around it. He sits down on the ground, crossing his legs, and gestures for Takeshi to join him. Reluctantly, the merchant does, his heart still pounding, but his curiosity piqued. "When I was young," Zen says, "I lived in a village at the foot of these mountains. A boy in the village was afraid of the dark. Every night, he would scream at his shadow, and every night the shadow would scream back, growing larger, more terrifying, until he wept. His parents tried everything, candles, stories, even a guard dog, but nothing worked. Then, an old woman told him, Stop fighting your shadow. It is just you, after all. Takeshi frowns. What does that mean? It means your shadow is not a separate thing, Zen says. It is a shape made by your body blocking the light. The valley's echo is not a separate voice. Is your voice bouncing off stone? And your fear? It is not a monster lurking in the dark. It is just your own heart talking back to you. You know this valley, don't you? The one inside your head that echoes your worst fears when you lie awake at night. I'll never sleep. Tomorrow will be a disaster. Something is wrong with me. You shout these thoughts into the darkness, and they echo back louder, scarier, more convincing until you're surrounded by a chorus of your own anxiety. It's Takeshi's terror of the valley. The fear that the echo is something real, something separate, something that wants to hurt you, when in truth, it's just you, talking to yourself. Neuroscientists call this the fear amplification loop. When your amygdala, brain's threat detector, perceives danger, even a imagined one, like I'll be exhausted tomorrow, it triggers the release of cortisol, the stress hormone. This makes your heart race, your muscles tense, and your mind hyper-alert. Useful responses if you're facing a tiger, but counterproductive when you're facing a pillow. Then your prefrontal cortex, trying to solve the problem, fixates on the fear, replaying it over and over, which tells your amygdala this must be really dangerous, and the loop tightens. It's Takeshi shouting louder because the echo scares him, which makes the echo louder, which makes him shout even louder. Master Zen understood this loop centuries before science named it. Fear feeds on attention, he told Takeshi, as they walked out of the valley later, the sun breaking through the mist. The more you fight it, the stronger it grows, but like the valley's echo, it cannot survive without your voice to sustain it. Think of a time when a worry seemed overwhelming until you talked to someone about it. Suddenly, it shrank. It didn't disappear, but it lost its power to terrify. That's because sharing it broke the loop. You took the thought out of the echo chamber of your mind and let it breathe in the open air where it couldn't grow. The valley of your mind is no different. Isolation makes the echo louder. Awareness makes it quieter. Let's practice breaking that loop now. It's called the echo release, and it works like this. Close your eyes and imagine standing in Takeshi's valley. The walls are high, the air cool, the mist soft around you. Now, think of one worry that's been echoing in your mind tonight. Maybe it's, I'll never sleep, or I'm failing. Let that thought be your shout into the valley. Listen to its echo. Notice how it sounds maybe deeper, or angrier, or more urgent than the original thought. But here's the thing. The echo is not the thought itself. It's just a reflection, a vibration, a sound that will fade if you stop shouting now. Take a deep breath in, and when you exhale, say silently to yourself, "This is just an echo." Let the words hang in the air. Do you feel the tiniest shift, the echo softening just a little? Do this again with another thought. If one comes up, shout it into the valley. Listen to the echo, then breathe out. This is just an echo. Notice how that feels. Not like the thought is going echoes, take time to fade, but like you're no longer trapped in it. You're standing outside, watching it bounce off the walls, knowing that eventually it will dissolve into silence. This is the power of awareness. It turns you from a prisoner of your thoughts into an observer of them, and observers are never powerless. Zen taught Takeshi a final lesson as they reached the valley's edge, where the mist thinned and the path to the village became visible. The valley teaches us that we cannot control what echoes, he said, pausing to look back at the mountains. But we can control what we shout. We can choose our words, our tone, our intention. And in that choice, we find freedom. This is the gift of this chapter. The understanding that your anxiety is not a monster, but an echo. It is not a prediction of the future, but a reflection of the present where you are alive and feeling and human. You do not need to fight it, or run from it, or scream at it to stop. You just need to remember that it is yours, and in remembering, you take back your power to choose what comes next. Feel how the rhythm of your breath mirrors the rhythm of the valley, expansive, generous, unhurried. It does not fight the silence, it dances with it. It does not fear the echo, it trusts that what is sent out will return, but softer, lighter, changed. The sun has climbed high enough to burn off the mist, revealing the valley in all its grandiose faces, striped with red and gold, waterfalls glittering like silver ribbons, birds riding the thermal updrafts on outstretched wings. Takeshi looks back, half expecting to see the anger and fear he felt earlier, but there is only beauty. It's different now, he says, wonder in his voice. It was always different, Jen replies. You just couldn't see it while you were shouting. As we move forward, carry this image with you. The valley, vast and open, returning what you give it, but never defining you. Your thoughts are echoes, not edicts. Your fears are reflections, not realities. And in the space between the shout and the echo, there is peace, always waiting, always available, just for you. Take one final breath, deeper than any before, as if you're breathing in the entire valley, its rocks, its streams, its silence. Inhale and feel the vastness expand within you, making room for whatever you feel. Exhale and let go of the need to control the echo, to silence the shout, to be anything other than exactly who you are. And in the quiet that follows, remember, the valley is always there, but so is the sky above it, endless, open, free. The afternoon sun hangs high, its rays slanting through the bamboo grove like golden threads. The air hums with warmth, thick with the scent of jasmine and dry grass. Cicadas sing in a steady, drowsy rhythm, their chirps blending with the rustle of leaves in the soft breeze. In the temple courtyard, a stone fountain gurgles, its water catching the light and spilling it in broken rainbows across the flagstones. A group of young disciples scurries about, their robes flapping as they chop wood, sweep paths, and tend to the vegetable garden. Their movements are quick, almost frantic, as if the fate of the temple depends on how much they accomplish before sunset. Kato, the oldest among them, pauses to wipe sweat from his brow and glances toward the meditation hall. Through the open door, he spots something that makes his jaw tighten. Master Jen, the temple's abbot, lying on a straw mat, his hands folded across his chest, eyes closed, breathing slow and deep. He is sleeping. Kaito storms across the courtyard, his sandals slapping against the stones. Master, he shouts, not caring that his voice startles a sparrow from the rafters. How can you sleep at a time like this? There's wood to split, rice to hull, prayers to chant. Jen's eyes flutter open, but his expression remains calm, as if he's been waiting for Kaito's outburst. The sun is at its peak, he says, his voice thick with sleep. Even the birds are quiet. Why shouldn't I rest? Because we're busy. Kaito gestures wildly at the other disciples, who have stopped working to watch. Because there's work to do. You always tell us to be diligent, to seize every moment, but here you are, napping like a lazy farmer. Jen sits up slowly, stretching his arms over his head. When I was a boy, he says, I traveled with a potter who made the finest bowls in the province. Each afternoon, when the kiln was firing, he would lie down under his workbench and sleep for an hour. The clay needs time to harden, he told me. The fire needs time to do its work. Rushing won't make the bowls stronger. He stands, brushing straw from his robes, and walks to the fountain, cupping his hands to drink. You think diligence means never resting, Cato? You think holiness is measured in piles of chopped wood? He splashes water on his face, then turns to face the disciples, who have gathered in a semicircle, their tools forgotten. A tree that grows without resting in winter will snap in the first storm. A river that never slows will carve itself into a desert. Even the Buddha, when he attained enlightenment, sat beneath the Bodhi tree for 7 days, not doing, just being. Rest is not the opposite of diligence, it is its foundation. Cato opens his mouth to argue, but Zen holds up a hand. Tell me, what is the purpose of all your work? To serve the temple, Cato says, though his voice wavers. To honor the Buddha. And when your body collapses from exhaustion, when your mind grows so clouded you can't remember the words of the sutras, will that serve anyone? Zen's gaze softens. I sleep not because I am lazy, but because I respect the work. I rest so that when I chop wood fully. When I chant fully. You think my nap is a waste of time, but your anger that is the waste. It poisons your work, poisons your mind. And for what? Because you think there is shame in stopping. You know that shame, don't you? That quiet voice that whispers, you should be doing something when you lie in bed at night. The one that makes you feel guilty for resting. As if sleep is a luxury you don't deserve, a sign of laziness, of failure to keep up with the demands of the world. It's Cato's anger at Master Zen, the belief that rest is indulgent, that you must earn the right to close your eyes by first exhorting yourself. This is the should that gnaws at you when insomnia strikes, the idea that you should be productive, even in the dark hours, that lying awake is a moral failing. You scroll through your phone, clean the kitchen, draft emails in your head, anything to avoid the guilt of wasting time by doing nothing. But the more you resist rest, the more exhausted you become, trapped in a cycle where guilt fuels wakefulness, and wakefulness fuels more guilt. Psychologists call this moral licensing, the belief that we must earn our right to rest through productivity. It's rooted in a culture that values doing over being, where busyness is worn as a badge of honor. But your brain and body don't operate on this moral code. They need rest, not as a reward, but as a necessity like water or air. When you deny them that, you activate the brain's limbic system, triggering stress hormones like cortisol that keep you in a state of heightened alertness. Guilt, it turns out, is one of the body's most effective insomnia tools. Neuroscience shows that the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for judgment and self-criticism, becomes overactive when we feel guilty. This overactivity suppresses the brainstem's sleep-inducing signals, creating a loop. The more you feel bad about being awake, the more awake you stay. And the more awake you stay, the worse you feel. Master Zen understood this instinctively. Guilt is a thief, he would tell his disciples. It steals the peace from your rest and the joy from your work. Think of a time when you allowed yourself to rest without guilt. Maybe a sick day spent in bed, or a vacation afternoon with no plans. Remember how that felt? Not lazy, but replenished. Your body didn't suddenly become unworthy of rest. Your mind just stopped punishing you for taking it. That's the freedom Zen embodied in his midday nap. The courage to ignore the voice that says you should be doing more, and trust that rest is part of the work, not its opposite. Let's practice that freedom now. It's called the permission slip, and it's simpler than you might think. Close your eyes and take 3 slow breaths. With each exhale, imagine releasing a should that's been weighing on you. I should be asleep. I should be productive. I should be better. Let them float away like dandelion seeds on the wind. Now, say silently to yourself, I am allowed to rest, even if I am not asleep. I am allowed to be awake without fixing it. I am allowed to take up space in this night, just as I am. Repeat this 3 times, letting the words settle into your bones like sunlight. I am allowed to rest, even if I am not asleep. I am allowed to be awake without fixing it. I am allowed to take up space in this night, just as I am. Notice how that feels, not like a magic spell, but like removing a stone from your shoe, small but transformative. You don't need to earn rest. You don't need to justify it. It is yours by virtue of being alive, just as the trees need winter, just as the river needs to slow. The afternoon sun dips lower, painting the courtyard in amber light. The disciples have returned to their work, but their movements are slower now, more deliberate. Cato chops wood, but his strokes are steady, not frantic. He glances toward the meditation hall and smiles when he sees Jen still resting, his chest rising and falling in rhythm with the fountain. Later, as the sun touches the horizon, Jen joins the disciples for tea. Did the work get done? He asks, pouring a cup for Cato. Cato nods. Yes, master, and I think it was better. I didn't rush. Jen smiles. Rest teaches us to work with the current, not against it. When you stop fighting the need to pause, you find that the path opens wider. He takes a sip of tea. Tonight, when you lie down, remember this. Sleep is not a test. It is a gift, and you are always worthy of receiving it, no strings attached. As we move forward, carry this image with you. Master Jen, sleeping in the afternoon sun, unashamed, unhurried, trusting that the world will keep turning even when he closes his eyes. You do not need to earn your rest tonight. You do not need to apologize for being awake. You are allowed to exist in this moment, just as you are, no more, no less. Take one final breath, deep and slow, as if you're breathing in the warmth of the afternoon sun. Inhale, feeling the air fill your lungs with light. Exhale, letting go of any last traces of guilt, any need to prove yourself. And in the silence between this breath and the next, remember, the night is not a task to complete. It is a space to inhabit softly, gently, without judgment. Moonlight seeps through the paper windows of the artist's studio, casting long, thin shadows across a room cluttered with inkstones, brushes, and half-rolled scrolls. The air smells of pine resin from the ink sticks, mingled with the earthy scent of mulberry paper, dry, fibrous, slightly sweet. A single oil lamp burns on a low table, its flame flickering so gently it seems to breathe, painting the walls with dancing light. Takeshi, a painter with ink-stained fingers and a mind that chases perfection like a moth to a flame, kneels before an unfinished scroll. His brush hovers over the paper, trembling. On the scroll, a mountain landscape rises from mist crags, sharp as teeth, pines bending to an invisible wind, a waterfall plummeting into a pool. But in the corner, where the sky should meet the horizon, there is only blank paper, raw and white, like a wound. Just a few strokes, he mutters, dipping the brush in black ink. He touches it to the paper, then jerks it away. The line is too thick. He dabs at it with a damp cloth, smudging the ink into a grey blur. No, he groans, crushing the cloth in his fist. He dips again, trying a thinner line, but it wavers, uneven. It should be steady, confident, like Master Mori's. He scrapes the brush against the ink stone, the sound harsh in the quiet room. Why can't I get it right? The clock beside the lamp chimes 3, its tone hollow, as if mocking the hours he's wasted. His eyes burn from exhaustion, but sleep won't come. Not while that blank space stares back at him, not while the painting remains unfinished. He's been at it since sunset, erasing and redoing, his back stiffening into a knot, his breath growing shallow with frustration. It has to be perfect, he whispers, more to himself than to the empty room. Otherwise, what's the point? Master Mori, his robes dyed the soft blue of dawn, stands in the doorway. He has been there for some time, watching Takeshi struggle with the quiet compassion of one who has known such battles. When I was your age, he says, his voice like the rustle of bamboo. I painted a dragon. Takeshi's brush pauses midair. He doesn't look up, but his shoulders relax just enough to let the words land. I worked on it for 3 months. Every scale, every claw, every whisker perfect. On the day I finished, I showed it to my master. He looked at it for a long time, then said, "Where is its breath?" Takeshi scoffs, but there's a crack in his defiance. A painting doesn't breathe. It's ink and paper. Ah, Mori says, stepping into the room. He kneels beside Takeshi, his movements as fluid as water, and gestures to the blank corner of the scroll. That blank space is its breath. You've filled every inch with detail, but you've left no room for the viewer to breathe, no room for mystery, no room for life. He traces the edge of the blank paper with a gnarled finger. Perfection is a cage, Takeshi. It locks out the very thing makes art alive: the imperfection, the uncertainty, the knowledge that it could always be otherwise. Takeshi's jaw tightens. My father was a farmer. He said, a job worth doing is worth finishing. You don't leave a field half-plowed. Mori smiles. A field is not a painting. A field grows. It changes with the rain and the wind. A painting that tries to be a field will wither, just as a field that tries to be a painting will starve. Your landscape is beautiful, but you're trying to force it into a cage of shoulds. How it should look, how it should end. You've forgotten that art, like life, is in the becoming, not the being finished. He picks up a brush and dips it in pale grey ink. With a single, steady stroke, he paints a wisp of cloud drifting into the blank space-oft. Incomplete, as if it might vanish at any moment. There, he says, setting down the brush. Now it breathes. You know this cage, don't you? The one you build with shoulds when you lie awake. I should have finished that report. I should have said sorry. I should be able to sleep through the night. It's Takeshi's blank corner, the thing left undone that gnaws at your mind, that makes you feel like a failure for not having it all figured out. You toss and turn, replaying the day, editing the words you said, adding the ones you didn't, as if you could rewrite the past into something perfect. But the more you try to finish the day, the more it slips away, leaving you exhausted and empty, like a painting with no breath. Psychologists call this the need for closure, a deep-seated human desire to bring ambiguous situations to a definite end. It's why we hate cliffhangers in books, why we feel compelled to finish a meal even when we're full, why we lie awake rehashing conversations that ended too soon. Your brain, wired to seek safety in certainty, perceives open loops and finished tasks, unresolved feelings as threats, keeping your nervous system in a state of low-level arousal. This is the Zeigarnik effect. Uncompleted tasks occupy more mental space than completed ones, like Takeshi's blank corner demanding attention. Neuroscientists have mapped this phenomenon to the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for goal monitoring. When a task is incomplete, this region remains activated, sending signals to the rest of the brain. Not done, not safe. Keep working. At night, with no external distractions, these signals grow louder, turning your mind into a loop of unfinished business that keeps sleep at bay. It's not that you're bad at sleeping, It's that your brain thinks it's still at work, trying to finish the day. Master Mori understood this tension between completion and life's inherent machine. A painting is never finished, he told Takeshi later, as they sat watching the first light of dawn seep into the studio. It just stops in a place that feels right. Like this moment, this breath, this heartbeat. They don't need to be perfect to be meaningful. They just need to be felt. Think of a time when you let something remain unfinished. The book you set down mid-chapter, a walk cut short by rain, a conversation that ended with, "We'll talk more later." In that letting go, did you feel a sense of freedom or loss? Chances are, it was both, and that's the point. Life is a series of open loops, and trying to close them all is like trying to catch the wind, exhausting and ultimately impossible. Let's practice honoring the open loops with an exercise called the unfinished list. Here's how it works. In your mind's eye, imagine a piece of paper and a pen. On this paper, write down all the things that feel unfinished. Right now, the email you didn't send, the call you need to make, the apology you owe, the dream you haven't chased. Write them quickly, without judgment, letting each word be a brushstroke, not a masterpiece. Now, look at the list. Notice how many items there are. Notice how they make your chest feel tight, maybe, or heavy. Now, take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, say silently, "These are mine to tend to, but not tonight. Tonight, they can wait." Fold the paper in your mind and set it aside, not because you're ignoring it, but because some things are meant for the light of day, not the quiet of night. Notice how that feels, like setting down a heavy backpack after a long hike. You're not solving anything, but you're creating space. Space between you and your obligations. Space for rest. Space for the night to be what it is, not what you think it should be. Takeshi eventually fell asleep that morning, his head resting on the scroll, the unfinished painting still spread before him. When he awoke, the sun was high, and the blank corner no longer looked like a wound. It looked like possibility, like the sky, vast and open, waiting for whatever came next. "It's not perfect," he said to Mori, who had been sitting quietly, watching the light play on the ink. Mori laughed. "Perfection is a ghost, Takeshi. It haunts those who chase it, but it never lingers. What you have is better. It's real." This is the lesson for tonight. Your wakefulness is not a failure of completion. It's a reminder that you are alive, and alive things are messy and unfinished and beautiful in their imperfection. You don't need to fix your day or your thoughts or your inability to sleep. You just need to let them be, like Takeshi's blank corner, like the breath in a painting, like the quiet between heartbeats. Let's return to our breath, but this time, let it be imperfect. Inhale for as long as feels natural, not counting, not forcing, just flowing. Exhale in the same way, letting the air leave your body when it's ready, not when you think it should. Notice the gaps between breaths, the little pauses where nothing is happening and everything is. These gaps are the blank corners of your night, not empty, but full of possibility. The lamp in Takeshi's studio has burned low, its flame now a tiny, steady point of light. The painter has rolled up the scroll, not to hide it, but to honor it, to let it rest, as he has learned to rest. Outside, the birds are singing their songs as unfinished as the dawn, as perfect as the day itself. "I used to think finishing was the point," Takeshi says, his voice rough with sleep but soft with understanding. "Now I think it's the starting over." Mori nods, pouring tea into 2 chowan bowls. "Every sunrise is an unfinished painting, Takeshi, and every breath is a brushstroke. As we move forward, carry this image with you. the blank corner of the scroll, not as a failure, but as a promise. The night is full of such promises of rest, of renewal, of the quiet understanding that some things are meant to wait. You are not a painting to be completed. You are a life to be lived, in all its messy, beautiful, unfinished glory. Take one final breath now, as deep as the sky in Takeshi's painting. Inhale and let the air fill you with the knowledge that you are enough, exactly as you are, unfinished and whole. Exhale and let your body sink deeper into the mattress, as if it were a cloud, soft and unconcerned with being anything other than what it is. And in the silence between this breath and the next, remember, the most beautiful things in life are not finished, they are becoming, and so are you. The mountain stream bends through the valley like a silver ribbon, its waters singing over smooth stones. Sunlight filters through the canopy of maple and cedar, dappling the surface with gold. Moss clings to the rocks, soft as velvet, releasing an earthy scent when the current brushes against it. Dragonflies hover above the water, their wings iridescent, pausing mid-air as if listening to the stream's song. Teki, a young monk with a stubborn streak that rivals the oldest boulders, kneels at the stream's edge. He's been watching a particularly large stone broad, jagged, half-submerge, split the current into two frothy paths. It shouldn't be here, he mutters, prying at a smaller rock with his hands. He tosses it into the woods, grunting with effort. It's blocking the way. The stream should flow straight. He spends hours hauling stones, digging at the mud around the boulder's base, trying to dislodge it. His hands bleed from scrapes. His robes are soaked through, but the boulder remains immovable as a mountain. Why won't you move? He shouts, kicking at the water. The stream merely churns around his ankles, then continues on its way, splitting around the stone as if it were meant to be there. Master Ru, his bamboo staff tapping gently against the path, stops beside Takeshi. He watches the monk struggle for a while, his eyes soft as the moss. When I first came to this temple, he says, the elder monks told me a story about the stream. They said it once tried to carve through that boulder. He nods at the large stone. For years, it crashed against it, foaming and roaring, determined to make a straight path. But the boulder didn't budge. Instead, the stream wore itself thin, its waters growing shallow and weak. Takeshi wipes sweat from his brow, his breath coming in ragged gasps. So what happened? The stream learned, Ru says. He sits on a flat stone, crossing his legs, and gestures to the water. It stopped fighting. It curved left, then right, finding the spaces around the boulder instead of trying to destroy it. And look now, it's stronger than ever. Wider, deeper. The boulder didn't block it, it shaped it. He plucks a leaf from a nearby bush and drops it into the stream. They watch as it floats toward the boulder, then swerves around its edge, spinning gently before continuing downstream. The leaf doesn't argue with the stone, Ru says. It doesn't curse it or try to move it. It just goes around. Why do you think you're different? Takeshi opens his mouth to argue, then closes it. He looks at his bleeding hands, at the stones he's tossed aside, at the boulder still standing firm. Because I'm not a leaf, he says finally. I'm a monk. I'm supposed to overcome obstacles. Overcome, Ru repeats, smiling. Is the stream weaker because it goes round? Is the moon lesser because it bends around the earth? Some obstacles are not meant to be destroyed, Takeshi. They are meant to be redirected, to teach you that strength is not always in force. Sometimes it is in flexibility, in finding the path that was there all along. You feel this tension in your own mind, don't you? The way a warrior stone of regret or fear blocks the flow of your thoughts, and you crash against it again and again, demanding it move. Why can't I stop thinking about this? I should be over it by now. It's Takeshi's frustration with the boulder, the belief that obstacles must be destroyed, that any deviation from straight is failure. But just as the stream grows weaker when it fights the stone, your mind grows exhausted when it fights your thoughts. They don't disappear, they just grow larger, sharper, more immovable. Neuroscientists call this cognitive diffusion, the practice of stepping back from thoughts instead of engaging with them. When you treat a worry as a stone rather than a problem to solve, you activate the prefrontal cortex's ability to observe without reacting. This weakens the amygdala's threat response, calming your nervous system. It's not that the thought disappears, it's that you stop giving it the energy to block your flow. Like the stream, you find the path around. Psychologists often use the metaphor of psychological flexibility to describe this skillful ability to adapt to what is rather than what you wish were. When you lie awake, replaying a mistake or dreading tomorrow, you're being psychologically rigid, refusing to let your mind move past the obstacle. But flexibility doesn't mean apathy. It means recognizing that some stones won't budge, and that's okay. You can still reach the ocean, even if the path bends. Master-Ru taught Takeshi to sit by the stream each morning, watching how the water responded to obstacles. Notice the small spaces, he said, the cracks between stones, the eddies that form behind them. Life finds a way through, even when the way is not straight. Over time, Takeshi stopped hauling rocks. Instead, he began stacking them in small cairns along the bank's markers. Not barriers, each one a reminder that strength and flexibility could coexist. Let's practice this flexibility now, with an exercise called Stream of Thought. Here's how it works. Close your eyes and imagine yourself as the mountain stream, clear, flowing, alive. Your thoughts are the stones in your path, some small, easy to navigate, some large, seeming to block your way entirely. As you flow, notice a thought, any thought that feels like an obstacle. Maybe it's a worry about tomorrow, a memory, a to-do list item. See it as a stone in your stream down. Instead of crashing against it, feel yourself swerve, flow to the left of the stone, then to the right. Let the current carry you around its edges, where the water runs smooth and deep. Notice how the stone doesn't disappear, but it no longer stops you. Continue flowing, meeting each thought stone with this same gentle redirection. No force, no frustration, just movement, just flow. Do this for the next minute, letting your mind be the stream, your thoughts be the stones, and your awareness be the current that finds its way around. How does that feel? Lighter, perhaps? Less stuck? Because you're not fighting the landscape of your mind anymore. You're moving with it. The stream doesn't judge the stones as bad or annoying. It just moves around them as naturally as breathing. This is the wisdom of flexibility. Not changing the world, but changing your relationship to it. The stream's song grows louder as clouds drift across the sun, dimming the light. Takeshi sits beside Ru now, his hands cleaned and bandaged, watching the water curve around the boulder. It's beautiful, he says quietly, the way it bends. Beauty is often in the bending, Ru replies. A straight line is efficient, but a curve is alive. It adapts, it persists, it becomes more than it was before the obstacle. He pauses, then adds, your mind is not a straight line, Takeshi. It's a stream. Let it bend, let it flow, let the stones shape it into something stronger. This is the lesson for tonight. Your thoughts are not enemies. They are stones in your stream, part of the landscape, not a threat to it. When you stop crashing against them, when you let your awareness flow around them, you discover a kind of freedom, the freedom to be awake without struggle, to rest without perfection, to exist without fighting against your own mind. The sun dips lower, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The stream continues its journey, curving around boulders, dancing over pebbles, singing all the while. Takeshi stands, stretching his sore muscles, and smiles at the cairns he's built. I used to think strength was about moving stones, he says. Now I think it's about moving with them. Rue nods, rising to, the greatest rivers in the world are not straight, he says. They meander, they adapt. They find their way home, no matter what stands in their path. As we prepare to move forward, carry this image with you, the stream, curving round the boulder, its beauty in the bend, its strength in its flexibility. Your mind is like this stream. It does not need to be fixed or controlled. It just needs to float to move around the thoughts that seem to block it, to trust that there is always a path forward, even when it is not straight. Take one final breath, deep and full, as if you're drinking in the stream's wisdom. Inhale, feeling the coolness of mountain water in your lungs. Exhale, releasing any last traces of resistance, letting your body grow heavier against the mattress, your mind lighter, more fluid, more free. And in the quiet between this breath and the next, remember, the night is long, and your stream has all the time it needs to find its way. The mountain path twists like a serpent through the forest, its stones slick with evening dew. The air smells of damp moss and pine resin, thick and earthy, as if the woods themselves are exhaling after a long day. Above, the sky has drained of all color, leaving only a vast, velvet darkness pricked by distant stars, faint, almost shy, as if hesitant to compete with the moon, which hides behind a bank of clouds. Takeshi, a young monk with a lantern clutched in one hand and a glass jar in the other, stumbles over a root. The lantern swings, casting wild shadows that leap and dance between the trees. Just a few more, he mutters, squinting into the darkness. A flicker of green-yellow light pulses a header firefly, hovering above a fern. He drops to his knees, jar outstretched, and holds his breath. The firefly drifts closer, its light winking on and off, and he slams the lid shut. Got you, he breathes, grinning as he shakes the jar. Inside, a dozen other fireflies glow weakly, their light dimmed by the glass that imprisons them. He's been at this for hours, since sunset turned the sky to ink. The more fireflies he catches, the darker the forest seems to grow, as if the night is expanding to match his effort. His lantern guttered out an hour ago, its oil spilled when he tripped over a fallen log, and now the only light comes from the jar. Despite his collection, barely illuminates the path in front of his boots. Why isn't it brighter? He shouts, shaking the jar harder. A few fireflies fall silent, their lights extinguishing. Wake up. Do your job. Master Ryo emerges from the shadows, his sandals making no sound on the mossy ground. He carries no lantern, no jar, only a walking stick, its wood polished smooth by years of use. You've been walking this path for 3 seasons, Takeshi, he says, his voice low enough to blend with the rustle of leaves. Did you need fireflies to see it in summer? Takeshi scowls, hugging the jar to his chest. In summer, there's moonlight. In summer, the trees have leaves to catch the light. Now it's dark, properly dark. How am I supposed to find my way without light? Ryo gestures to the ground, where the path is faintly visible as a ribbon of packed earth, lighter than the surrounding forest floor. The path is still there. The stones are still there. The roots that trip you are still there. They don't need fireflies to exist. He steps closer, his eyes reflecting the faint glow from the jar. What happens when you focus so hard on catching light that you stop feeling the ground beneath your feet? Takeshi opens his mouth to argue. But then he remembers the way he'd tripped over the log because he was staring at the sky, not the path. The way he'd wandered in a circle for an hour because he was counting fireflies instead of noting the direction of the wind. "I just want to see," he says, his voice softening. "Then close your eyes," Ryo says. Teki blinks. "What?" "Close your eyes," the master repeats, "and tell me what you hear." Reluctantly, Takeshi obeys. At first, there's only the thud of his own heartbeat, loud in his ears, then faint, but clear, the rush of a stream somewhere to his left, its rhythm steady as a drum. A cricket chirps, then another, their songs weaving together. A branch creaks, shifting in the breeze. "I hear the forest," he says, surprised. "Now what do you feel?" Ryo asks. Takeshi focuses, the cool air on his cheeks, sharp with the scent of pine, the rough fabric of his robe against his skin, the weight of the jar in his hands, warm from his grip, the ground beneath his boots firm, slightly uneven, guiding his feet even without sight. "I feel grounded," he says. "Open your eyes," Takeshi does, and for a moment, the darkness no longer feels like an enemy. It feels like a blanket, soft and protective, wrapping around him. The fireflies in the jar glow, but their light seems less important, now just one small part of the night, not the whole of it. "Darkness is not the absence of light," Takeshi Ryo says, taking the jar from his hands and unscrewing the lid. Fireflies drift out, one by one, their lights flaring brighter as they rise into the night. It is the presence of something else, stillness, listening, feeling. You cannot see the stars if you're too busy chasing fireflies. You know this darkness, don't you? The one that falls when you lie awake at 3 a.m. The room so black you can't see your hand in front of your face, and your mind screams, "I need to sleep." It's Takeshi's panic in the forest, the fear that darkness, wakefulness, is a threat to be conquered, a problem to be solved with whatever light counting, mantras, worry you can grab. But the more you chase sleep, the darker wakefulness seems. The more you focus on the problem of being awake, the less you notice the quiet, steady ground of your own body, the breath that continues, the heart that beats, the simple fact of being alive, even in the dark. Neuroscientists tell us that fear of darkness, and by extension, fear of wakefulness, activates the amygdala, the brain's threat detector, triggering the fight or flight response. Your heart rate increases, your pupils dilate, your mind races to find solutions, all of which make sleep impossible. It's a feedback loop. The more you fear being awake, the more awake you become. The more awake you become, the more you fear it. Takeshi's fireflies are like these solutionsdini, temporary lights that distract you from the truth. Darkness is not dangerous, it is neutral. It is just a part of the cycle, like night following day, like breath following breath. Psychologists call this fear conditioning. When your brain learns to associate a neutral stimulus, darkness, wakefulness, with a negative outcome, feeling tired, being unproductive, until the stimulus itself triggers anxiety. But here's the thing, you can recondition your brain. You can teach it that wakefulness is not a threat, that darkness is not an enemy, that both are simply states to be experienced, not fought. Master Ryo knew this. The forest does not fear the night, he told Teki as they walked back to the temple. Fireflies swirling around them like living stars. It rests in it. It grows in it. It remembers that darkness is where roots stretch deeper, where seeds wait for spring. He paused, pressing a hand to the trunk of an ancient cedar. You are like this tree, Takeshi. Your strength is not in fighting the dark, but in trusting that you have roots enough to stand in it. Think of a time when you embraced the dark instead of fighting it. Maybe lying in a tent on a camping trip, listening to the wind in the trees and feeling safe, even though you couldn't see your surroundings. Maybe sitting by a campfire, watching the flames dance and letting your mind wander, not caring about the time. In those moments, darkness wasn't a problem, it was a canvas, waiting for your attention to paint it with sound and sensation and stillness. Let's practice that embrace now. It's called Darkness as Ally, and it invites you to meet wakefulness with curiosity instead of fear. Here's how. Close your eyes or keep them closed if they're already shut, and take 3 deep breaths, letting each exhale soften your body a little more against the mattress. Now, notice 5 things you can hear. Not big things, the hum of a distant appliance, the rustle of sheets as you breathe, a bird calling outside, your own heartbeat. Just let the sounds come to you, no need to chase them. Next, notice 4 things you can feel: the weight of the blanket on your legs, the cool air on your forehead, the texture of the pillowcase against your cheek, the rise and fall of your chest. Notice 3 things you can smell: the faint scent of your soap, the freshness of clean sheets, the memory of dinner lingering in the air. Notice 2 things you can taste: the faint sweetness of toothpaste, the dryness of your lips. Notice 1 thing you can feel without judgment: the simple fact of being alive, right here, right now. Do this for the next minute, letting your senses anchor you in the present, even in the dark. Notice how that feels, not necessarily sleepy, but present, grounded, like Takeshi when he stopped chasing fireflies and started feeling the path beneath his feet. This is the paradox of wakefulness. When you stop fighting it, it loses its power to disturb you. It becomes just another part of the night. Neither good nor bad, just is. The fireflies have all escaped now, their lights winking out as they merge with the darkness. Takeshi walks beside Ryo, his steps lighter, his hands empty. "I thought I needed light to find my way," he says. "You do," Ryo replies, "but not the kind you catch in a jar. The kind that comes from knowing the path is there, even when you can't see it." As they reach the temple gates, the moon slips from behind the clouds, bathing the courtyard in silver light. Takeshi laughs, sudden and surprised. "Look, we didn't need the fireflies after all." Ryo smiles. "We never did. They were just a distraction from remembering we already knew the way." This is the final lesson of our journey. Sleep is not a destination to reach, but a river to float on. Sometimes you're in the current, carried smoothly toward dawn. Sometimes you're in the eddies, circling in wakefulness. But neither is better or worse. Both are part of the river. Your job tonight is not to force the current to carry you. It is to stop fighting the eddies, to let your body rest, even if your eyes are open, to let your mind wander, even if it doesn't settle, to trust that, like the moon emerging from clouds, sleep will come when it's ready, and if it doesn't, that's okay too. You are enough, even in the dark. Take one last deep breath now, deeper than any that came before. Inhale, filling your lungs until you can feel the breath in your fingertips. Exhale, letting go of every should and must and need, letting your body grow heavier, your mind lighter, until there is only the space between breaths, the space where everything is possible and nothing is required. When we through these 10 stories, we've walked through fire and water, through winter and darkness, and what we've learned is simple. The more you try to control, the more you struggle. The more you let go, the more you find what you seek. Sleep is not a prize for effort. It is a gift for surrender. As we've traveled through these 10 stories, Winding like a mountain stream, you may have realized what keeps you tossing and turning is never being awake itself, but the jinan that you must sleep. Firewood burns naturally. Moonbeams need no scooping. Your breath, your drowsiness, they have their own rhythm. May these truths become moonlight by your pillow, gently illuminating every awake moment and guiding you into every peaceful sleep. No need to chancho, no need to rush you, and peace have always been one. Thank you for sharing this journey from Zen Mind Temple. Good night, and may you find deepest tranquility in acceptance.